Newton County is well known for primarily being a forestry-dominated county, very rural. There's a lot of interest in outdoor recreation here, but there was a lack of an event celebrating that in the fall, and that's why we chose to develop the Wildlife Festival and Youth Days, particularly here at the station. We're nice and centrally located here, and we have a large landscape that we can use for events like this. Grasslands for the bird dog training, but also many of the open areas for archery and different opportunities. It's very easy for people to access, and it's a great area for the local schools to come to because they're very close by. So it's been a great activity for the last 3 years. I think the kids have really enjoyed it. And the staff has really enjoyed it to get out of the office and enjoy the outdoors with the kids. This year at the 3rd Annual Wildlife Festival at Coastal Plains Experiment Station with Mississippi State University, we have over 200 children here from local schools, including Newton Municipal, Newton County, and Newton Academy Schools. They're here joining us today with learning about wildlife and outdoors. It's free to the schools to come here. It's a half-day session. Some come in the morning, some come in the afternoon, and they go through multiple stations learning about different activities. Joining them is over 25 to 30 staff members from the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. Mississippi State University's Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Aquaculture has many staff here, and also the Mississippi Agriculture, Forestry, and Experiment Station staff is here helping us today, along with other grad students and undergraduates helping us put on this event. So it's definitely a team effort, and all are here to enjoy the outdoors, truly out in the outdoors in the fall time of year here in Newton, Mississippi. We have multiple activities going on across the property here. New this year is actually archery. It's Archery in Schools program with the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. Many of their officers and biologists came today to assist the youth in learning about archery, its importance in wildlife management, but also just how to hold a bow and how to accurately shoot a bow, and safely, most importantly. This year we have the fishing simulator, again with the fisheries biologists from the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. No real fish, but they do get to learn how to use the pole and the different reels that are available to them, and learn about why fishing is important in Mississippi. And also it's an enjoyable sport. Other activities include bird dog training. Dr. Darrell Jones and his bird dogs are back again this year, and he taught the kids about dog training, and also gave an experience out in the field with the students to actually watch the dogs work up a field and find quail. The other activities this year, Leslie Berger and Dr. Fogarty are back from MSU with their reptiles, and Leslie Berger is talking about mammals. She has a bunch of mammal pelts, and actually this year has a live mole, and the kids got to learn about mammals, big and small, and learn about their pelts and the different areas of the state that they live in.
I think the Newton Festival is a good opportunity for kids to see firsthand some of the different components of wildlife in Mississippi. We have the Mississippi mammals display, they have the reptiles display, some things that they've not ever encountered before, and some old things. And so I think it's a really unique opportunity to get outside, to experience some things firsthand, whether it's recreation with the archery or the wildlife right off the bat. For many of these kids, they've never seen this stuff before. And so if we don't provide it for them, I don't know how else they're going to get a chance to see it. The kids that have had some exposure to things in the outdoors, they get most excited about something that actually have already seen before, because they like to show you what it is they already know. So things like raccoons and deer and coyotes probably are some of the ones that I get the most response for. The ones that they are not familiar with, perhaps like bobcat, they get excited out when they realize that this is something in their own backyard instead of what they typically call it is like a cheetah or a leopard. And so they're excited to find something new that they've never encountered before.
I like to bring them out here because it gives them a hand-on experience. A lot of the things that we talk about in the textbook, they can actually see here. And they have other people, adults, that work with animals and wildlife, and it gives them an opportunity to ask questions that I might not be able to answer in the classroom because, I mean, every day these people are working with wildlife and throughout Mississippi, and they have a whole lot more knowledge about individual habitats than we would in the classroom, and the kids really enjoy that. I have to confess, I like the reptiles and the amphibians. I really like to teach about that because you can really break down the characteristic differences between the two groups of animals, and I just really like that part. They have a lot of specimens in the jars, and I can't always bring them in my classroom. You know, that's not a safe environment, but I really like that part.
I have 2 live snakes. I have a corn snake and a hognose snake, and then I have about 40 other specimens that are preserved. I have some turtles, salamanders, frogs, and lizards. Most children just don't know the diversity that's out there. They know about all the mammals, they know about all the different types of birds, but I think it's really neat for them to see that we have some really cool salamanders, some that they probably will never see again in their life and haven't up to that point. And I always bring some live snakes with me, and they handle, you know, the snakes, and they kind of get over a little bit of that fear of them.
We were contacted by the Extension Service to notify us that they were having it and asked if we'd like to participate, and of course we want our kids to be involved in it. The hands-on approach is tremendous educationally for the kids.
One of the most important things is to have the children be able to experience life in an educational setting, and being here they are having fun, they're getting hands-on experience. We just left the reptile and amphibian station. They got a chance to see the snakes, the frogs, and all kind of animals that I necessarily didn't want to touch.
We are well endowed with a number of opportunities for the outside, but we have to conserve those opportunities. The natural resources are not unlimited. They are limited, and for us to have future use of those, our kids have to be taught how to use them, how to wisely use them.
Basically, my goal as the coordinator is to increase youth participation in the outdoors, whether it be in hunting, fishing, or just getting out in the outdoors. It could be just hiking down a trail. Just trying to get kids active in outdoors and understand what we have to offer in Mississippi from a natural resource standpoint.
Well, so many kids today don't have the opportunity to be introduced to the shooting sports, and the Mississippi Experiment Station, Mississippi State Experiment Station here is one of the things that we can do with the free assistance of the game department to come in and teach our kids some things and introduce them to the world of sports.
One good thing about archery is kind of a sport that one size fits all. It doesn't take a special athlete to do archery. Any kid can pick up archery and be successful with it. And we have what we call our Archery in Mississippi Schools program, which we're working in schools statewide to teach archery. We're in about a little over 200 schools now, and with a little over 20,000 kids going through that program annually. So it's primarily taught during PE class. It starts with 4th graders. This gives them a different option during PE class to do. And also some of the schools take it even farther, and they'll have an after-school program, after-school archery club, and that's when they can get into tournament shooting and just do some different things.
These are my dogs. These are pointing breed. They're English pointers. They're dogs that have a lineage back to the old England and the United Kingdom, and foxhounds, and bird hunting is a traditional sport in Europe and in England, and these dogs were brought over years and years ago, over 100 years ago from England, and have made quite an impact in the United States as far as upland bird hunting. Some are more natural than others. It's just through genealogy and a history of breeding for dogs that would naturally point, and those that were more apt to do so, those were the ones that were selected for breeding. And so over time they've just been genetically geared to point. Not any dog will normally point. I guess they could stop and mark something, but these pointing breeds, as the name implies, they've been bred to do so, and so they just do it genetically. They're hardwired, so to speak, to do it. Northern bobwhite quail, as many people know, are in older fields and wood lots, and they're in vegetation that's very similar as to behind us here. And so the dog will work those areas, and the birds put off a characteristic body scent that they leave in the air and also on the ground when they walk through and feed, and the dog is able to smell that body scent, and when they can tell by the intensity of the scent how close they're getting to the birds. And when they feel that the scent is hot, then they're trained and genetically hardwired to point at that point in time. So they'll stand up and point, and then you know that they've marked the birds, and then the hunter goes in and will flush the birds in front of the dogs.
I have found that today's children are amazingly ignorant of the wildlife that lives in their backyard. I can ask them to name wildlife species, and what I generally get as a response is things like cheetahs and giraffes and lions and leopards, but they will not name things that are in their own backyard. So they are very unfamiliar with what's in their own backyard, and I think that's a travesty. So many of these kids that I talk with are simply afraid that the animals are going to hurt them. And so one of the things I try to stress every time I talk to them is that the truth that these animals are more afraid of them than they should be of the animals. And so if we can overcome that fear of the plants and animals that are just outside, I think that we might be able to get some of them more comfortable with spending time outdoors.
It's obviously the main reason for the day here today at Newton is in the coastal plain branch is to show kids and children the importance of conservation of natural resources and the nature of Mississippi and why it's important and how fun it is to be outside. And bird hunting, archery, the fishing demonstration, looking at reptiles, touching snakes, all that is to get them outside, get them enjoying nature and attached to the land, and why it's important that we conserve the resource. Otherwise we won't have it in the future. The children are our future, and they need to be able to protect the garden in which we live in, the outdoors.
Many of our children these days spend most of their time indoors, not only for school, but for a lot of their activities, including video games and times with friends and also other events. A lot of our sports training is actually spent indoors or very short periods of time out of doors. And our children and even us adults are spending a lot less time out of doors, which is causing quite a large disconnect between wildlife activities and just outdoor recreation in general, hiking, camping, boating, getting people outdoors at different times of the year, including the heat of the summer and also the cool of the fall, like we are now here today at the experiment station. So the whole point of this festival was to, at least for half a day, get the kids outdoors and show them that there's a lot of neat things to learn out here. They can learn a lot about science while they're having fun outside, and they don't necessarily have to have four walls and a roof over their head to do that. So that's really the point of the festival here, to help our children, at least for half a day, get outside and enjoy the outdoors and learn a little bit about it.